going to pray this one rolls good. Okay. Today is February 11th, 2018. My name is Gerry Fialka, and it's an honor and a pleasure to be here with Rod Weber. Rod, what a pleasure.
Hey,
is that how you pronounce your last name?
How else would you pronounce it?
Boy, you're starting out with a question. That's good. Okay, the first question, Rod, is what's the best thing for a human being?
Sex.
Whoa! What a way to start! Sex.
Long, hard, sticky, nasty sex. Getting in there. This
is my kind. He's seen a million of my interviews. That's a good answer, right? One of my favorite answers ever was the guy who made the 11th biggest grossing documentary in the history of the world. It's called, it's Paul Provenzo. And then I shouldn't, this is anticipating, I won't tell you his answer before. Okay, you always answer that. Okay. What's your favorite form of information?
Television. It rots the brain quicker. I want to get off this planet as quick as I can, man.
That is
anesthetize.
It rots.
I don't have drugs hard enough to really do the job, so I just stare at the TV. Only the worst people that I disagree with. Fox News, Bill Maher. I'm just.
That's good, Bill Maher. He's a fucking. Okay, no. Now I can tell you, Paul Provenzo, who made the film. It's called The Aristocrats. Have you ever seen it?
I have, yeah.
That is a... Yeah. And I says, what's your favorite form of information? He goes, porno.
Absolutely. And the great thing about The Aristocrats is that the long-form joke about fucking, right?
Dude, that is an amazing...
Not just any kind of fucking, the longest, grossest kind of fucking.
Oh, that is an amazing... He got away with murder. I mean, to get that film in normal theaters, that was...
Yeah.
But anyways, let's onward and upward. Your favorite form of information is TV. That's pretty heavy. Okay, why do you think humans collect or gather information?
Squirrels have taken all the nuts, obviously.
No, that's a metaphor. I don't get it. What do you mean by that?
Well, we gotta think. Nuts, acorns specifically, are a form of currency. Now we've got Bitcoin is replacing that as kind of because everything's a fiat. You got to understand that.
How do you spell that word? F-I-A-T?
F-I-A-T, I believe.
Well, so fiat means
unless
what?
I'm a libertarian, in which case I don't know. It's just money and gold and yay.
But what is
Rumpelstiltskin? You can't get me gold.
So fiat means gold?
No, fiat just means that there's no physical backing for it. So once they took
physical backing.
Once they took the dollar off the gold standard, we're just a fiat currency. We're just a bunch of bullshit just floating around. It's a note. It's a bank note saying, well, I'll pay you back. I did this amount of work and goods and services, and here you go, and fuck off because we're going to print a bunch more. And this is the thing with acorns. I mean, you think about squirrels. They could have acorns as currency. But if there's a lot of water, and the trees grow too much or whatever, then it totally diminishes that currency.
Right. This is really fun, Roddy. It's very enlightening. So, is a fiat a metaphor?
Fiat is a metaphor for the love and affection that we never got as a child.
Okay, back on information. What do you think humans collect or gather information because it's hardwired in us, or is it something humans learned?
I think it really goes back to all your the panspermia theories, really.
The what?
Panspermia.
P-A-N?
Pan, sperm, panspermia. I-A at the end. Like the CIA, but it's panspermia.
But panspermia theories are yours, or are there...
No,
who came up with those?
Jesus Christ, all those...
Jesus Christ came up with them?
Actually, he may very well have.
Quick, Google that, Brad. Who came up with panspermia theory?
Because the idea of it is that, perhaps, since we can't find the missing link, that, perhaps that there was someone who interfered in our evolution. And if this is the case, we don't necessarily, collect books, and we're not necessarily intellectual because we evolved that way, but because someone, messed with our DNA. Now, I'm not saying this is the thing, but I mean, there is a case for intelligent design. So all those right-winger, churchgoers,
right,
and their shit about Jesus Christ, as you say, could be a thing. I don't think it's one Jesus Christ. But if you look at, look in the book of Genesis, you look in, I think, it's Ezekiel. Well, there's a passage in there that says that God will, destroy all other gods except for, the real God of Israel, that kind of bullshit or whatever, which is an acknowledgement that there are other fucking gods. So if
so that's a good adjective. There's other fucking gods.
Well, exactly. And so they're making it like the pre-humans fuck to become humans.
Right.
And this is the whole thing with the Nephilim, which
what's that word?
Nephilim. Nephilim, or it might be
and what does that word mean?
So these are your angels or aliens or whatever you want to call them.
Oh, they might be.
It's
ufology.
You got like your rock gods,
like coast to coast topics.
Yeah, I mean, if you want to get into that, I don't know. but so you're asking, do we do it naturally, or was it hammered into our head? I'd say that it was these motherfuckers fucking with our DNA.
Right. So you're saying that someone messed with our DNA and made us be information collectors.
I need empirical evidence, but if you're doing this gun to the head thing where you're making me choose,
that is good. No, you can talk vaguely.
No, it's not vague. But if you had to pick one or the other, that's what I'm going to go with.
That's good, Rod. That's good. And McLuhan has a great line. He says, "Ambiguity is a sign of human maturity."
Okay.
Would you agree with that?
I'm going to be ambiguous.
This is fun. Okay, so do thoughts create emotions?
Every now and then. but it's more that I think emotions create thoughts.
The other way around?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Because whatever that hardwiring is, there's. You look at the way the politics are run, and the way that Donald Trump came to ascend to the kingship here. And he's instilling fear and hate and whatever. He's using emotions to get what he needs.
Yeah.
And thoughts. Yeah, of course, thoughts create emotions.
Great. That was good. So, of course, it's both, and it depends. Do you think humans are more thinking beings or more feeling beings?
Depends if you're a man or a woman.
Really? So that's a perfect follow-up for this. We'll jump to a question. I'm
going to get myself in trouble for saying that.
No, dude, we're
because it's the women that are the thinking people. It's the men who are emotional. They just want to fucking kill. You look at all these guys in office, and again, that's what they're doing. They wield power by going out there and raping the earth, and in some cases physically raping people. You look at what Chelsea Manning exposed and the Reuters reporter that was killed out there. They are going by their emotion. They're riling up emotion.
Yeah.
And I think women are probably the more logical ones, creating hearth and home, and that's the symbol of a womb is an O. Bring people in, and if you really think, hold on, let me finish this though. Because if you think about the future of the world, I don't think that something like the United States can sustain itself without being a total dystopia unless it breaks into states. Now, I'm not saying that we need to go back to the Confederacy and all that, but it's everything is local. Women are more prone to focus on what is local. Men are like, world domination, give me the sword, and hacking off your head.
It's very good. The question is just, you answered it, but if you want to. The question is...
nail me down.
No, I'm not trying to nail you down. These are vague questions, and you can go wherever you want. You're doing great. It's amazing, Rod. You've taught me so much already in just 9 minutes and 30 seconds.
I hope not.
So here is it. The question I usually ask is, what's the most significant difference between men and women, physical aside? So you would say what you just said.
Yeah. I
Yeah.
mean,
Okay. Now the follow-up question is, why do women live longer than men?
For that very reason, they're focused on what's rational. I mean, it's family, it's home, it's bringing up the children. A lot of times is let's make some drawings. I don't have children of my own, but I know through my brother's children and my girlfriend's children.
Yeah.
And, it's the best time of day, like the best times in life really is just like sitting around with the kids and drawing and it kind of it's magical to them that that you can create something with there's a pen and then all of a sudden we're making monsters and princesses and all of a sudden we're giving them a lecture on Joseph Campbell's monomyth.
That is great. Okay. Do you more pursue happiness or more pursue meaning?
I don't think there is happiness without meaning. I think they're, in a lot of ways, they're one and the same. For me, I pursue inspiration. It's really I get a hair up my ass, and I'm like, I gotta go do this thing. And it's one of the things about actually even being in the Los Angeles area was. With all the film projects I do, I could easily do 5 films a year. Feature film, it's making them isn't a hard thing. It's like well, I should try to, let's get this to the next level because I've got this great footage of the Donald Trump rallies and these horrible things that happened and even shady shit that the Democrats did and covering up the beatings at the DNC and it felt like it was important enough that I wanted to get it out there, and that goes for my Standing Rock film as well. So I'm out here and I really have to resist the urge is, well, I'm just going to go on my inspiration. I'm going to go make something new now. Because I see that, Chris Kobach, who's the fucking douchebag behind Crosscheck, he's running for governor of Kansas now. And it's like, lo and behold, Kansas has no fucking requirements. I don't have to be a resident to run for governor of Kansas. And I might do it just to fucking try to bring Crosscheck down.
Good. That's beautiful.
But that's inspiration. So that's happiness versus meaning.
You answered it well. I just want to tell you where I got that question was Frankl's book, Man's Search for Meaning, and he said that happiness can end but meaning lasts. So if we shared an ice cream cone, we could both be happy with the taste and what the ice cream did to us. But the meaning of the event is we had eye contact and we shared this dialogue during it, and that might last. So it's no big deal. Okay, does the brain more detect consciousness or create consciousness? Is consciousness there and we're detecting it, or are we creating it?
Well, that is kind of the universal question, and all the greatest scientific minds, in the universe have been, really working on that one. So, if you asked Stephen Hawking or Einstein, we're trying to figure out, if we get in this train, can we get back to before the universal egg, started, right? The Big Bang, right? The thing is that egg is this is proof that God's a woman, but that egg is it's just it's there waiting to give meaning to the universe.
Yeah.
But before it does that, it's full of dicks, and it's just exploding, and these fucking dicks are hitting you in the head, exploding
you mean
everywhere.
Metaphorically, guys who are dicks or just
the universe is made of dicks. Is what I'm saying, and one of them lands on Earth, in the primordial ooze, and it evolves into like a platypus, and there's a giraffe, and he's like, I'm gonna fuck that giraffe. But the problem is how did the giraffe get up there? And he's like, oh, he's got the little things, and it's
That is good. Okay, but but your answer was, does the brain more detect consciousness or create it?
There's no fucking way you can know that. That's why.
That's good.
Why
Okay.
I'm getting it at some.
That's good.
Absurd ass shit that the universal egg is full of dicks.
No,
I don't fucking know.
That's good. That's good. Okay, I'm not trying to push it. Okay. What's faster, Rod? The speed of light or speed of thought?
The speed of thought.
Very good. Okay. There's no right or wrong answers to any of these questions. That one you got right.
Of course.
Okay.
All of my answers are right.
Yeah, good. You can't dismantle the master's house using the master's tools. Audre Lorde said that, a poet. One of her fellow artists said, Yvonne Rainer, you can if you expose the tools.
I was going to say you can if you hit him in the face with the tools.
Well, you know what Mark Twain says, when you have a hammer in your hand, everything looks like a nail.
Yeah.
Okay, what new tool can you suggest?
Geez, I don't know. The Bible, obviously, everything can be solved by the teachings of Jesus Christ. But you may
Are you serious?
No, of course not. But of course, I mean, you got to remember that. I mean, the Bible won out, and I mean, the contest of like how the world is ruled. It's like, it's like, what year is it? That whole fucking thing.
Yeah.
Like, it's like obviously the year of our Lord, blah blah blah, and all that shit.
Yeah.
But yeah, I mean, so if you want to fucking hit the master, with his own tool, like in a way, I am serious. That's what I did, during the campaign. I went on the campaign trail and I memorized every fucking Bible verse that I thought was relevant to using it against them. That was the judo rule for me, and that got my foot in the door.
Yeah, no, you did good, and we recommend everybody just go to Flower Man on YouTube. You can watch a 12-minute film short, and it will blossom into a million. Okay, thank you. Now, what do you worry about when you go to bed at night?
Since I'm sleeping in my car, like, I don't know, just mostly nothing. The car looks all fucking junky or whatever. So I'm not really worried about anything. I guess maybe cops waking me up.
Okay, that's good. Why are most artists liberal?
Because we're right.
Okay.
Of course, I mean classical sense of liberal. I don't want to get into neoliberalism or whatever. Right?
No.
So, yeah, I got where you're going with that.
Okay.
We say lefty, or maybe the
progressive lefty. Okay, fake left. We call them fake left.
Sure.
Okay.
Thanks, still on.
Rod, this is fun. I'm still rolling too. Everything's working there.
Checking.
Okay. Marshall McLuhan learned from Ezra Pound that artists are the antenna of the race. They're like broadcasting the hidden psychic effects of the things we invent. So we don't know what spoken word, printed word, cars did to us, basically. We think we do, but we embrace everything so much that we just let it subsume us. Our inventions become us. We're like, ooh, clothing's an extension of our skin. We love clothing. And so, it has services and disservices, but we don't know how it psychically really changes us. So the whole point was, he says, but we can turn to the artist through Pound's enlightenment. McLuhan says we can turn to the artist, and they reveal the hidden psychic effects so that we can learn how to cope with them. But we still ignore them, even though we can learn the hidden psychic effects. So the question is basically, why do we ignore the hidden psychic effects of our inventions, even though we can turn to the artist and learn how to, suss them out?
This is partially why I grow a beard. As long as I do. There's the silver-like beards that are, groomed, and they got the thing on the side. They spend a lot of time and put all the gel in it. But you got to remember that crayfish are now being found to be just women. They don't need men. Men are, obsolete. So it's going to happen with humans.
Say that line again. Crayfish are
they're not all crayfish, but there's a species of crayfish that there's no men anymore. There's no men. They just pop out eggs and they make more of them.
Yeah. Okay.
So science is gonna find a way to do this and make men obsolete. And this is I don't know. I mean, I'm a man, so I guess I'm biased here. But I think I want to live like a fucking caveman. To a degree, and maybe that's being in the car, maybe that's being out in the elements, and just I want to get back to what's fucking real, because everyone's got an iPhone. I am answering your question. They've got an iPhone and an iPad, and all these wires stuck up their ass. They're like cyborg citizens, and let's plug this in, and I'm liking the thing on Instagram, and there's the hearts or whatever, and God love any woman who ever, if I ever make love to a woman again in the future or whatever, like God love her for doing or whatever. But I want her to know, like, what a real man is like. Fucking a real man is you got to be like with a fucking Wookiee, a Bigfoot, a Sasquatch, a fucking creature of myth. You know,
wow, that is He-Manish. You sure you should be on Coast to Coast every night. You cover every topic they cover, man.
Hey, I get into cryptozoology, man.
Cryptozoology.
And we're a dying breed, except for the extras on Game of Thrones.
Crypto. What was the last
Zoology.
part? Zoology. Okay. So the answer was, why do humans ignore the hidden psychic effects, even though we can turn to artists?
And that was my answer right there. Is because we don't want to be cavemen.
Because we don't want to be.
I'm saying we got to be cavemen. We got to embrace our humanity.
That was brilliant. We don't want to be cavemen. That is so good. You really get what I'm all about here. Asking these questions. Okay.
A plus.
Basically.
Thank you, teacher.
Are you more afraid of old ideas or new ideas?
Old ideas.
Why?
Because the new ones are right here before me. I can smash the iPhone. I can grow out my beard. Those old ones, I don't like. Again, if we get into the idea that the aliens are sticking DNA in there or whatever, it's like, well, I don't know. What is that? Like, are they going to abduct me? And send me off to coast with the anal probe.
No, in the Groove Tube or one of those early spoof movies before Saturday Night Live. The guy goes to court and he goes, send him to Detroit. Like, send him to coast.
Well, that's actually a horrifying idea of some of the alt-right. If you look at the Traditionalist Worker Party, I interviewed Matthew Heimbach, he's a bona fide card-carrying Nazi, National Socialist. That is one of their ideas, is that, they want to send the black people to Detroit. Right. They want to have these different...
Oh, yeah. Isn't it? Well, see the film Rat on how the history of rat poison and the history of redlining. You know what redlining is? It's spooky. All in Baltimore, where that spawned.
Well, Philadelphia, they're bombing the black neighborhoods.
Oh yeah,
not anymore. That
that was heavy. And that guy who, well, we shouldn't say it on tape, but George Clinton, Parliament Funkadelic, said it in his interview. The guy that L.A. hired to be their head cop was the guy who ordered that firebombing in Philly.
Oh, well,
and there's an excellent...
Delightful.
Okay, so this is another McLuhan line. I would like to say it, tell you how I think what it means, not that I got it right or wrong, and see what you think it means. Or just interpret, whatever. Everybody experiences far more than they understand. Yet, it is experience rather than understanding that influences behavior. So the way I think McLuhan, what he's trying to say is, if a kid comes in from the cold snow and his hands are cold, he can go up to the stove, the oven, if his parents teaches him the dynamics of heat, that's understanding heat, and warm your hands up. But experiences, don't touch the stove, they'll burn your hand. So that's how I distinguish just basically the difference between experience and understanding. So again, the line is, everybody experiences far more than they understand, yet is the experience rather than understanding that influences behavior. How do you interpret that line?
Well, first and foremost, I think society's become really sick now, because I think a lot about experience and understanding, especially if you go on Facebook or any kind of social media, and everyone wants to argue with you, and it's like their opinion trumps not just facts but experiences. Now, I covered the 2015-2016 election, and the crazy thing for me there is that people just they want to argue with you no matter what you have to say, and I'm like, okay, well, I'm telling you the facts as I know them, and a lot of people, you're a Bernie Sanders supporter, so fuck you. And I'm like, no, I'm not a Bernie Sanders supporter. Not that I have anything against Bernie Sanders, but what I'm trying to do is just state the facts, as I know them. And they're like, well, they put all their shit out there, and it's like, well, okay, but in my experience, this means something. And I feel as though like the young generation or even older folks now are kind of succumbing to the evils of Facebook, and it's like experience doesn't matter anymore. And I'm like, it's the most important thing. Aside from winning the argument on Facebook, it's like there's a whole world of shit going on out there.
Yeah.
And I'd rather go out and run against Chris Kobach in Kansas, not knowing a goddamn thing about Kansas politics, and just experience it and do some fucking weird ass shit, and be able to say, no, this is really what's going down in Kansas.
Yeah.
But so I think what Marshall McLuhan is saying there, which is again was that people experience the things more than they understand them.
Yeah.
I don't think it's the case anymore.
Yeah.
First of all, but I think what he was getting at is that there's so much more to be understood by experiencing it, like you said with the kid with the hot stove.
Good. That was really good. And the next question is...
I thought it was really roundabout, but...
I
can't nail them all.
Right, but here's the thing. One guy I interviewed, he was a film critic for a Catholic newspaper. He's a very intelligent guy. My way is...
an oxymoron, too. Just wrapping my head around that. A film critic for a Catholic newspaper.
My way of conducting the interview is I always go, good, thank you. That was great. And that's my way of saying, and then people go, wow, I'm doing good. And he goes, quit pandering to me.
Exactly.
He thinks, so I'm not, I anticipated this earlier in the day. I says, maybe I should tell him, I'm not trying to pander to you. It's just the way I talk.
No,
I'm just trying to be social. Yeah.
No, I mean,
No, you get it because we've had these discussions.
Sure.
Rod, can you conjure up your earliest memory?
Oh, geez. I don't know if it's the earliest one, but off the top of my head, was painting my dad's green VW Bug, like all yellow with the house paint, and then also painting my brother, and my mom coming out like, "Oh my God, like your father's gonna murder the family. He's gonna go Charlie Manson, and like we don't get out of here right now, it's all over. Quick, get the hose, get the hose."
And do you think memory is more a curse or more a blessing?
Oh, it's a curse.
Wow, that is heavy.
Yeah.
You know how much, at 99.9%.
Well, I watch all the TV. I'm just trying to rot my brain out. Yeah. But that's what it's fun. I get to go and have these new experiences, and then I forget all the stupid shit I did in the past.
But it's amazing.
There's no consequences that way.
It's so refreshing. So 99.9% of people go, it's a blessing. But, we're trapped in memory. And James Joyce said it best. He says, remember to forget.
Oh, yeah. Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, fuck the past. No. All we have is the future,
Yeah. Okay. Tell me one major role model or person who had an impact on you in your immediate family, and briefly, specifically, what was that impact?
And I mean, and avoiding the obvious cliches of it being my mother or my
whatever
father.
You want. It's.
I would just say so my the guy that I call my dad. And I'm sorry if sorry, Dad, if you ever see this or whatever.
Right.
But so Dad, Bill Weber, who I take the name from there. I struggle with this stuff because I haven't had the conversation with him, but I've had the conversation with my mother that he might not be my dad. But so anyhow, the guy that I called Dad was just like he was just into smoking pot like 24/7, which made my mom nuts. And he was like, okay, well you got to listen to like not just the Beatles and the Stones, but like the Ultimate Spinach and Iron Butterfly and the Beacon Street Union and
he made impact.
And the Mothers.
Did he turn down the Mothers?
Oh, sure, yeah.
Wow. Yeah. So he made
Shake
impact.
Your Booty and all and whatnot.
He made an impact on your listening.
Oh, absolutely. But I mean, then culture that was awakening me into like a whole other thing. My mom would say that's not culture.
Like, really? Oh,
yeah.
That's beautiful. The Fugs too.
A little.
Yeah.
A little.
So did you get your political activism rooted from rock and roll? Or
no.
Where'd you get the political activism from?
It came from my weird genetics, which probably from the other real father, which says because I did not have my growth spurt until I was 15. So
Wait, you didn't have your, I missed
my
it.
growth spurt. So while my while my younger brother was getting bigger than me, I was getting pummeled by like his younger friends, and so I honestly believe,
what great words, pummeled,
that I honestly believe that the experience of intellectually developing, like till you're 15, but having the body of a little child that's getting beat up all the time, you experience the injustice of the world.
Oh my God, that is great. So you learned how to stand up for yourself because they were pummeling you, and be an intellect and realize what's going on.
Well, yeah, you had to use your wits and your humor in order to avoid a thumping. And so, I mean, obviously this carries across into my political activism and my political theory altogether. I don't need to have read all of Noam Chomsky's and Ralph Nader's books, and it's like I could just easily stick them up my ass and like, oh, here it is. Not that I think it's a bad or anything.
Right. No, that's good.
But the average person doesn't give a fuck about it. And Donald Trump fucking, I mean, he shows that better than anyone.
Dude, it's really fun. Okay, so but another divergence, since you brought up wit and humor, who made impact on you in the comedy, wit, and humor world? Was it Three Stooges or South Park or something on TV? Or you picked it up on your own, but was there anybody making an impact on you?
I think it was the bullies punching me in the face.
Right, it was the bullies punching you in the face. But were there any comics or witty Kurt Vonnegut's or anybody's?
Yeah, so I mean, I loved, at the time when I was, I think, like
pummeled.
high school or whatever, like, it was like Kids in the Hall was the big one.
Oh, Kids in the Hall, okay.
And, the precursor to that was obviously Monty Python.
Okay.
And which actually that got me big into film because I was just a big fan of like Terry Gilliam and and what he would do cinematically the rest of the group just didn't care about it. They were happy to do the Ministry of Silly Walks, which was great, but then he's insisting we're going to get like a ton of smoke machines for Holy Grail, and they're like, you've got to be fucking kidding me. And he's like, well, no, this is a film. This is how you make a film.
Right.
Then he carries into Brazil and I mean, that was a head warper. Just
Terry was an influence on you because he was the only American in there.
That's true too.
That's good.
And he was also an animator, and I got big into. There's a lot of animation that I've done on YouTube as well. And that's kind of like one of the first things you can do to kind of like control your own universe. You're not just doing a still drawing or a painting or whatever. It's like you can create a whole universe, and I don't need a camera crew.
Because we have a common friend who's brilliant at it, Martha Colbert.
Oh yeah.
And Martha probably got it from seeing Terry's cut up animation.
Oh, yeah.
But who Terry got it from was Stan Vanderbeek.
I don't know who that is.
Anyways, he was one of the. He was, but Kurt Schweiters and John Hartfield. Those were the guys who did in magazines before it was in movies.
No, now you're going too far back.
Okay,
you have to tell me. But
okay. So, anyways,
tell me later.
Let's go to the next question. You answered that really well there. The next question is along the same lines. Tell me someone outside your immediate family that had an impact on you, just briefly, and what was that impact?
Bob Enos. He was my high school.
How do you spell the last name?
E-N-O-S.
E-N-O-S. And what did he do?
He was my high school art teacher pretty much throughout high school. It wasn't every year.
Yeah.
I had Leslie Cohen, I believe, in 9th grade. And I started earlier than most. I started at 13.
Yeah.
And really, what allegedly I could have been done when I was 15, but then they had these stupid English and gym requirements. You had to do 4 years of it, and there was no way around it.
Yeah.
So I mean, most of my time, just since I got rid of all, I got most of my credits done for math and all that done in middle school, and then so once I was in high school, I was just like, well, I'm just going to do painting because all this other shit is nonsense.
Right.
I don't want to say nonsense, but it wasn't what I wanted to do.
Yeah.
I wanted to paint and make movies, and he was. He was able to challenge me in a way that that you didn't get from your kindergarten teacher.
Very good. That you answered the question well. That was fine. Okay, so let's move on. Did your parents raise you a particular religion?
Well, they switched up when I was in 3rd grade.
To what?
Well, I started as Catholic.
And then they switched to what?
Methodist.
And so, did you ever check out? Did you ever check it? No, did you ever follow along for a while?
Yeah, of course.
Okay, and then did you ever check out?
Well, there wasn't like a ticket at the door. It's just
There wasn't a ticket thing.
became nonsensical.
Well, about what age? It became nonsensical.
I don't know, probably 10th or 11th grade.
10th or 11th grade? Yeah. Okay, now, do you pray?
No.
Okay. If God...
Should I say yes? Are you God?
Look at...
Are you going to smite me?
Look at... Rod, the purpose of this series is to invent new questions.
To incriminate me.
No, it's to invent new...
Are you with the CIA?
Yeah, it's to invent new questions. So when you answer one of my questions with a question, you win.
Oh, good.
So you won. Okay, so here... do evil people exist, or does evil use people as a vehicle?
Well, I think you're getting into that whole fucking... That's a little Jesus-y for me. Which is one of the funny things I heard at the Trump rallies, because they all shout about, like, you know, legality and, like, well, you know, it's illegal that the immigrants are coming here. And I get like, okay, well, you know, legality does not equate to morality. And I'd hear someone say, oh, you're getting a little too Jesus-y for me.
They would say that to you.
Oh, yeah.
Well,
because I was bringing up, as I said before, I was bringing up Jesus a lot. But I mean, I would challenge him, you know, through morality, and they'd say, well, yeah, what laws weren't morals? Like, you ever hear about slavery? Or you like beer, don't you? Right? How about prohibition? I mean, like,
what would they say?
They'd kind of backpedal and be like, okay, you got a point.
So you don't think morality can be legislated?
No,
they try to do it all the time, don't they?
I also think there's no moral absolute.
There's no moral absolute,
which is kind of weird in the age of the social justice warrior. As much as like I'd like to be on board with, you know, every new linguistic change that comes around, and I'm going to be respectful. Like, you know, obviously, if you know, someone wants to be called whatever they want to be called, I'm going to call them that or whatever.
Yeah, because I was at a lecture and I used the word lady, and she was ready to crucify me.
Okay.
And I said, well, thanks for teaching me.
Exactly.
And I learned. But the other people said, you know, I've heard women say ladies. Sure. And it's, you know, so it's sometimes they're hard to adjust to, but...
And yeah, I mean, so I mean, I don't consider myself a comedian, but I've certainly done comedic things, which means I have an interest in comedy, which is, you know, political incorrectness is a part of that. But I certainly don't want to be like, you know, one of these douches that it's just. No, I don't care. But I'm okay with being shot. The kind of things that I've done kind of requires me being shot. I mean, when I was out at Standing Rock, and I mean, they were literally shooting people with rubber bullets, and a woman like nearly lost her arm, and Susie Dundon, you know, lost her eye. And I mean, I was right there on the front lines with. I mean, we're like in CNN and all the, you know, the douchey mainstream media. They were coming to me for my footage because I was the closest, getting the most horrifying footage. So I'm okay with being shot. Yeah. But I don't want to be a douche. Like, you know, if someone wants to be called whatever they want to be called. But again, even just looking at the oil company, they're like, well, you know, this is our land, and we can put the oil through. So to them, like, that's them being like, well, there's no moral absolute. And the Native Americans at Standing Rock are like, you got to be fucking kidding me. Yeah. You know, the Army Corps of Engineers already said this is our land. You can't put it through our land. This is our water. We need to fucking drink. We don't want to be poisoned. That would be the reasonable thing to me. Yeah. But hey, you know, that's our government. Yeah. Yay.
Boy, that was good. Okay, so let's go into this one. How do you advise someone to deal with an enemy? Let me set it up with a few modern thinkers' thoughts first. Alan Watts says, if you acknowledge your enemy, you empower them. Coppola said...
Well, that's your neo-Marxist postmodernism, Jordan Peterson would say.
You should address each one, because usually I list them all, and then they go, whoa. And then I tell them, okay. The second one is, keep your friends close and your enemies closer. That's the one Coppola stole from the samurais and the mob. What do you think of that one?
Well, I would tend to want to be open with your enemies, and I've done that over and over again. One of the big things that kind of was new to me when like Antifa started getting big at the rallies.
Maybe tell people what that stands for.
So it's anti-fa is fascist, anti-fascists.
Give us an explanation what that really means. Who is it?
Well, I mean,
the Antifa is.
Well, they formed in the year before Hitler came to power. A lot of people say that it was because he came to power, but there was fascist sentiment growing in Germany at that time, and the idea is that if you can squash out fascist douchebags before they become Hitler, well that's certainly better than letting the Hitlers of the world exist. So there was a good year and a half of the lefties getting their heads kicked in at these Donald Trump rallies before they're like, well, fuck that, we're bringing back Antifa, and
so they stood up against the people who were smashing their face.
Well, you're right, and as we've said off interview or what is, I'm not going to be a part of any group that would have me, whether it's Antifa, and I certainly wouldn't be a part of the alt-right. Right. But I mean, that's what you're getting. These two factions developing, and
is that divide and conquer?
I certainly think that's what the deep state is doing. In fact, Donald Trump might have just been selected. But I also predicted Trump was going to be in there way before any of the mainstream media. I don't think they were not paying attention. They were not interviewing people. But getting back to this whole thing of not speaking or communicating or keeping them close together. I've done more interviews with racists and the hardcore racist leaders really than I have with lefties. It's like, well, I already kind of agree with you. I know what I know where you're at. But one of the things that I saw that was new is Berkeley, which again was kind of the birth of the free speech movement, is changed to something else when Milo Yiannopoulos started giving those speeches there, and the lefties stopped communicating, which I found to be kind of fucking weird. But this is the new tactic, which again, like Jordan Peterson is the neo-Marxist, postmodernist there, and the idea being is in postmodernist philosophy is that he'll always use the description of when they started to make AI, could give any picture of anything, and the AI would interpret it just a million infinite number of ways. Now, if this is the case, the neo-Marxist, the postmodernists, they say, well, the only reason you're going to interpret it any particular way is for your own power dynamic, for you to grab power. And so the neo-Marxists, they said that you just don't talk to them, you shut them down. And so it's I went to Berkeley and I'm like, holy shit, he was, I mean, this is a right-wing douchebag and kind of in my, he's not a douchebag. It's like the alt-right have co-opted a lot of his kind of right-leaning things, because he's not a Nazi himself. He's kind of, He's bringing it out, out of the world of science and, quite honestly, pseudoscience. I think he's got this whole thing about lobsters and, going back to lobsters, they've got this mechanism, built into them that it's about dominance hierarchies, and it gets into bullshit, because then when he starts talking about hierarchies, he's like, well, there's hierarchies of competence, and then there's hierarchies of power. Which do you want to be? Because it's got to be competence. You got to learn to clean your own house, before you can change the world. That's why all these protesters are nonsense. You don't want to go out there and protest if you can't clean your own house. And so what he's talking about is being competent. He's he's trying to get the young white male who has no direction in life, and you just gotta focus on you. But on the flip side, it always comes around full circle to protesters are evil. So what he's doing is actually using his neo-Marxist, postmodernist. He's actually doing that by omitting, the fact that you can't test for corruption within power. So he's saying that when it comes to hierarchies of power, this is what the liberals, the lefties are all about, that because it's identity politics. for them to get their hierarchies of power, you have to become a part of the group. And if you're not a transgender, neo-feminist Marxist, then then fuck you. I'm not going to talk to you.
Yeah.
This is how he talks.
It's very good. You know what the American Indians say is, your enemy is your best teacher. So you're not shutting them down as having a dialogue. Okay.
So yes, the answer to your question is yes, I talk with them.
Yeah, that's good. JFK says, forgive your enemy, but don't forget their name. Fellini says, I need an enemy. And Chinese proverb goes, he who cannot agree with their enemy will be controlled by them. So here's the question. How do you advise someone to deal with an enemy?
Listen and learn.
That was good. James Joyce was the first projectionist allegedly in Dublin over 100 years ago. Allegedly, he said, why should we go inside a building and see a movie of a tree when we can go outside and see a real tree? Faulkner years later said, sometimes the best fiction is more true than journalism. Why do we as humans have to recreate things in order to get them? Why do we have to go to a theatrical play of people acting out life? Why don't we just live life?
Well, look at going back to Jordan Peterson, who was obsessed with the monomyth, which I touched upon earlier,
Yeah.
Joseph Campbell and all that stuff. Out of the lie of fiction, we can sometimes boil down a complicated issue to something that makes more sense. Going back to what I was saying about my niece and my nephew, and we're doing the doodles there, which leads to teaching of the monomyth is for them like RJ's got that's my nephew. He's got the police cars, the Playmobil now are like SWAT trucks. They look like riot cops. And I'm like, that's fucked up. And I tell my brother, why do you get that shit for him? That's fucked up. And because parents have to teach them, well, the cops are the good guys in case they get lost or whatever.
Right.
And I'm like, no, that's fucked up.
I'm sorry for laughing.
No,
but you know Matt Groening, who lived right over here, he did Life in Hell, then he did The Simpsons. You know who he is. You said you met him.
Yeah,
he had a cartoon about that once. It's Blinky, his first character.
Winky and Blinky.
He comes out and he's got a little plastic toy gun, and his mom goes, I don't want you playing with war toys. She takes it away from him. And the next panel is he picked up a stick and goes, so it's like inevitable that whether it's a war toy made or a stick, the kid had some tendency to do that. But I understand what you're saying. I have a big problem with immediately when kids start getting toys, they're like cars and phones. It's like their whole life's going to be cars and phones.
Right.
Can't they have a period of their life where they don't have them? Yeah. It's like immediately.
Right.
They're like, whoop.
Yeah, and all the Silicon CEOs say that, having those devices, you don't want to have them until you're 14 or 15 because it screws with your mind.
Yeah.
And I really think it is reprogramming us, and not in a good way.
Yeah.
But Dan, to put a ribbon on your thing there is, we need stories.
Yeah.
We need stories to get to the truth.
Yeah. Okay, now do you think humans are hardwired to be storytellers, or it's something we learn?
I think it's a person-to-person thing. There's.
But did we learn it, or is it in our innately?
Listen, I'm going to be an asshole right now. I used to think when people say, "Oh, well, how do you do that?" Or I'm making art, or I'm making a movie, and I'm like, hey, anyone and everyone can do it.
Right, you're right.
And no, it's wrong. No, I don't think that
Joseph Beuys says everyone's an artist.
Everyone, when they're kids, they're an artist, but they lose it. So I think maybe something's hammered out of them. I think it's that authority. It's like, don't be creative. They need you to be a drone. And so that's the thing. We can go into the dystopian future where robots and the corporatocracy benefits the rich, and they all get wonderful houses, and then what do we do with everyone else as they're reproducing and they don't have jobs? That's the problem with robots. You go down to the McDonald's and there's a robot there to take your order. And they're gonna get rid of the employees. So where do those employees go? There's just gonna be a lot of unemployed people. And what are we gonna do, like Soylent Green or the Morlocks? Which way science fiction novel do you want to pick there? But no, I think if we allowed people to stay kids, absolutely, it's an innate thing. But at society as it is, they don't allow it.
I see. Okay, so now Rod,
We need food we need people to put in the Soylent Green machine.
So, Rod, tell us a little of your path. You were deep into art as a kid, drawing, being creative. Then you're hearing music. That got you a little into music. Then you told me you basically went into the music pursuit for a while.
Yeah.
Let's just stay on music for a second, and then we shift back to art. I know this one's not shut off at all. So we're overbearing the drone stuff. Okay, so what first attracted you in when you're hearing music going, I can do that? Like, where did you first start saying, I'm going to do music? Like, was there a moment or an inspiration or some sort of process?
I didn't think I could do it, honestly. I mean.
But then where did it kick over? Where did you go to? Did they give you guitar lessons or?
Oh no,
did you hear,
was no my.
You self-taught musician?
No, yeah, more or less. So I mean, my dad obviously he gave me a lot of music to listen to, and one that my mom hated the most was their Satanic Majesty's Request. Like I got for
the Rolling
Christmas.
Stones.
Yeah, I'm just like, what the? Good God, what kind of Christian man does that and gives that to his son? And, but he didn't play anything, and but he did like these reel to reel, like it was like early
compilations.
No, it wasn't compilations. He would like mix beats and do shit like that.
Like, he was doing it on the reel tape.
Yeah, but I mean it wasn't like real time.
Yeah.
He'd just be splicing it
Yeah.
and making like collage art.
Collage
Which is actually
on audio, yeah.
Right. Well, which is kind of what I do. With you see this stuff out on Venice Beach, but
with graphic though.
Well, yeah, with graphic, I'm tearing
okay.
stuff up off the walls and stuff like that. But so collage has always been like a great way to deconstruct things, and so I was just kind of.
Whether it's music or art.
Yeah. Well,
okay.
but I mean, but getting back to what you're saying there is like I didn't really know how to do anything, and my parents gave no direction. I remember. I did drums one summer at the Creative Arts Camp, which was primarily for painting and visual arts. But they had, you could do a thing, and like, I want to learn drums. So I learned drums that summer.
Gotcha.
But other than that, it was my friend, two friends actually, Keith and Brian, and they're just like, it was kind of like, well, no, you should just be the bass player. Like, we need someone to play bass, and like so. But I didn't have a bass, so we knew like some people that had different parts. So I ended up like cutting out a body out of plywood and putting the neck on it there.
Yeah.
And it was like it started out with like early Pink Floyd stuff because it was like. It was very just like kind of one note drone things, and I'm getting the synthesizers, and it was like that whole collage thing where I was just, okay, I got a recorder, and like, okay, I can just make noise. Yeah. But then it kind of went from then Keith started to teach me chords on the piano, and the good thing about that was that he taught me theory. It was out of order from what my understanding of the way that people typically, you want to learn scales and you want to get your dexterity and all that stuff. And so it was, I was way ahead of everyone on understanding, the theory. And so I could write and I would be like, okay, well, you're going to do this. And I'd have all the ideas in my head and I'd write the poetry, and Ron was a bit of a
So you're writing the lyrics too?
Yeah.
Okay.
Of course.
That's good. Let's go from here then.
Sure.
So a great screenwriting teacher told me that great art or great film is when you can clearly see the intention of the maker. Kubrick says the opposite. Great film or great art is when you can clearly not see the intention of the maker. What role does intention play in your creative process, whether you're collaging graphics or music?
I think it's a pretty happy one. I like people to see my intent with. With the collages, the visual collages that I do, as well as the documentaries, and I've done plenty of films. I've done about half and half documentary and half narrative features. But if I'm doing like a comedy feature, my intent doesn't mean piss. It's like, my intention is to make you laugh.
Right.
I guess intent there is okay. It's like, but it's very simple, is what I'm saying.
I got you.
But for so if I'm making a documentary of the 2016 election, as I did, I don't want people thinking that like as much as I say to every politician that I interview, I'm neutral. Fuck no, I'm not going to be neutral. I want people to understand where I stand.
Right. Okay.
So intention is important.
That's good
for something like that.
That's good. Now let's say this one. Marcel Duchamp said that there's no art without an audience. How much are you thinking of the audience while you're making your art?
It's one of many components around the nucleus. I mean, you've got like all this stuff that's swirling around, and I think they're all equal in order to to create when you put it all together and it comes out. But yeah, I'd say equally. I mean, if you say it's 4 or 5 parts, I don't know. There's there's the visual of it. There's how people are going to understand your intent. There's the audio. There's the way that things are delivered. Which again, I mean, even though it's documentary, I'm going in there as it's a participatory documentary where I'm memorizing scripture and Donald Trump's asking me to recite scripture in front of his weird followers, and so the way that I deliver it, so for instance, one of them in Rochester, New Hampshire, in September of 2015, he asked me to recite scripture, and I could have very easily picked something that was going to glorify Donald Trump, but my intention was to fucking crucify him.
And so what you?
So I did 1 Timothy 3, 1-7. It's noble to seek the office of overseer, but he who does should be above reproach, sober-minded, not quarrelsome, married only once, and not a lover of money. But my delivery was like, not a lover of money. What say thou, Mr. Trump?
And then how did the audience?
Oh,
go?
The audience they wanted to crucify me. I mean, they were like,
you.
boo! They didn't pummel me right away because the cameras would have seen it. So they waited until like everything's closing down, and then it's all these kidney punches like from behind. They want to make
the
sure
cameras don't see
right.
it.
They want to make sure no one sees it. But I wanted my intention clear, and I was okay. There wasn't this onslaught of Trump violence at this stage. That was
at the beginning.
That was at the beginning, and I quite honestly, I think it was. So I saw myself the night after for the first time on camera, and I was horrified at the way that what I thought was righteous anger because I was responding to them. And there's this guy, Ian Thomas Jensen Longquist, who's a reporter for the New York Times, who I know. And I'm shouting to him, and I'm like, Ian, he's also like a camera guy.
Yeah.
And I'm like, you gotta get this, I don't
get footage of this.
Well, for my own protection or whatever. And so of course they stop because I've called to him. And then so they start doing it, and I'm like, what are you doing? Don't we have free speech in America anymore? He asked for a Bible verse, I gave a Bible verse. I'm saying it as they're intensifying, I'm getting more and more irritable. And so when I saw myself on camera for the first time, I'm like, my righteous anger is not going to come across. It didn't come across right, because then, the way that they refilter it through Fox News and all this shit on the right is like, oh, angry liberal tries to skewer him with the Bible. So How
did he write it up in the New York Times? Did he?
He didn't.
He did.
No,
okay.
It got pretty much no coverage.
Right. Okay. So, anyways, we do encourage people to see your films. They're amazing. Let's move on. Jean-Luc Godard told Michael Moore when he premiered Fahrenheit
that must be
9/11 that this film is going to help Bush get elected. Now, it didn't help Bush get elected per se, but it galvanized pro-Bushers. Mm-hmm. Bottom line question is, with this slew of political docs we've had over the last 20, 30 years, we've had a lot of them, do you think they more activate or more pacify people?
No, I think they more galvanize their pre-existing opinions.
Yeah.
If you take a look at the short version of the election film is called Flowers for Peace, at least the short version.
The 12-minute one?
Well, it's 40 minutes.
40, okay.
But I have a 90-minute cut, which is we're trying to bring to the big Hollywood people here.
Right.
But the 40-minute cut has been seen something like over 1 million, I think one
on YouTube.
On
it's
YouTube.
Called Flower Man?
Flowers for Peace.
Flowers for Peace.
The final the end one might be Flower Man versus Trump or something.
Whatever. Okay.
But as it stands, the 40-minute cut is called Flowers for Peace because that was the concept. You bring a flower to all the candidates, and if they take one, there'll be peace over the top.
Yeah.
That was. But you can see on the likes and dislikes is that as much as it's been seen an immense amount of times, it's got like 8,000 thumbs down and 2,000 thumbs up.
Wow.
So it's really more about like they want to see how awful you are and remind you that you're awful.
And
I mean,
that's
in their opinion.
way. They can log it. You don't. Yeah, it's not.
So and I mean, the comment threads are, well, you can imagine they're not congratulatory towards me, or they don't have a lot of nice things to say. Anyways,
I salute you for doing your work. So the next question is, what's more important, conviction or compromise?
Well, fuck compromise.
Okay, Rod, you've accomplished a lot. You've been a musician. You've got a great Wikipedia entry. It tells you all about your history of your music, a lot more than your filmmaking. You've gone into political activism. I've seen your art on the boardwalk. I'm really impressed. You're truly an amazing collage artist in great sense of the word. I've studied it for years. In your accomplishments, rate these three elements: luck, skill, and ambition. What played the biggest role, second and third?
I guess ambition's going to be at the top.
Ambition's the top.
Yeah, because you can get by on not having the most amount of skill. You just, look at the current state of reality TV. And, Kardashians is like, wow, what skill do you have?
Yeah.
That's actually a better example of luck because they were just born into the Robert Kardashian, and he had the OJ trial, and so that led to that ridiculous career, and then the Bruce. Anyhow, so
ambition first, then luck or skill.
God, no. Now I'm reevaluating it.
Yeah. That's good.
I've had quick, witty answers for all the others now. You stumped me this time.
No, there's no stuff. Dude, you're like my mom said when I wanted to interview her. She goes, well, the way I answer it today might be different tomorrow. I goes, that's okay.
Sure.
It's an ongoing morphing thing. We can do this every year, and it's fun. So I'm not trying to hold you to it.
So I know, but that's actually challenging to me because I think because today's state of affairs is different than how it was like 10 years ago, and it's one of the interesting things that I noticed with a lot of like the millennials that were politically motivated like during the election. Or even, I don't know if there's a category younger than millennial, but
it's Gen Z now.
Okay, so 20-somethings or Gen Zs or whatever.
Isn't it?
Trying to explain it. Well, you should get on this website, and it's going to help you, do this and this and this, and well, you know what? Like, okay, so we're on Facebook now. Like, that's the big thing now. I know you're young, but before that, there was MySpace. Before that, there was Friendster. Before that, there was AOL chat room. Before that, there was like the '80s internet geeks who were like sending basically text messages themselves.
Yeah, way back there was string in a Dixie cup.
Yeah, in a Dixie cup. Right. But they're like. And the other thing was like with the music stuff, and it's like there was MP3.com, and there's all this this fucking shit, and like but everyone's like now like hypnotized by just their iPhones all day long, and I know a couple of these people that do it's like the social media manager for Vermin Supreme.
Tell them who he is because you explained him to me. And I researched, but just in 2 sentences, who is Vermin
Supreme?
Vermin Supreme is
Vermin Supreme is a good friend of mine,
who's like more my age. He's 60s.
He's
about 65, I think.
No, he's not. But,
no, 55.
He's in his 50s.
Okay,
and,
sorry.
But he, again, because of the work we do, he doesn't like me to say.
Oh, I see.
So, but he's in his 50s, not 60 yet. I'm just Vermin, if you see this.
Sorry. But he's a political...
All right, so he's a political satirist, and he's been campaigning for various forms of office since the 1980s. He grew up in the Boston area like myself, but kind of started his political stuff running for mayor of Baltimore in the 1980s, and then instead of running for president, I think he ran for, it's like mayor of the universe, or it's like he would be running for
ridiculous
titles like that. But so he wears a boot on his head, and his main platform planks are free ponies for all Americans, mandatory dentistry, a zombie-powered economy where we basically put the zombies in hamster wheels and they'll just go round and round, and that way we can do away. It's green friendly. We won't have the methane gas created by all these cows.
Yeah.
And he can expand and extrapolate on all these themes ad nauseum. Every now and then he'll throw in something like, if elected, I promise to execute all Americans.
Vote better than David Icke.
Yes,
right?
a vote for Vermin Supreme is a vote completely wasted.
It's like Pat Paulson meets David Icke.
Yeah. So, I see what you're saying. What was
in a good way?
Yeah. Well,
yeah.
So now we're on Vermin Supreme. What were we talking about before that? The question was.
Who knows? What was the question?
Oh, I don't know.
Luck, skill, ambition.
Huh?
Luck, skill, ambition.
Oh yes.
Oh, luck, skill, and ambition. See, he's the only millennial in here, and then all the rest of us are asleep.
So
Thank you, Brad. All right.
No, I just get too wrapped up when I start talking about Vermin. It's like, okay, because I can wormhole into.
So
this
you
whole
wanted
thing.
to put ambition first, then you were going to put.
Right. No, but but the reason I brought that up was because Vermin Supreme's a media manager, and they do all this, a lot of these guys. I don't think it's just Vermin's manager or whatever. It's they're into this whole stuff, with these bots. They're doing God knows what, and so I don't know. I think it depends on how you're looking at it. For the average person today, maybe luck is the most important. But if you're a cynical motherfucker, doing shit behind the scenes, maybe it is the skill of I can just code better than you. So
it's interesting. What you did was you analyzed the three things. You know where I got the question? It's stupid, but it's William Friedkin, and he says, in Hollywood, all you need is ambition, skill, and luck. You don't need that at all.
Well, right.
So that's an interesting.
And that's what I initially fixated on. But I had all these other thoughts connected to what I know about social media and the way that coders. And you look at the alt-right, the code that came out of the gaming and the coding society, and they were actually doing Twitter swaps when the French elections were going on. And they'd try to get something trending, and so it's okay, the French elections are going, all the alt-right people here in America, whatever, they'd be okay, well, if you help us, we'll just tweet about the same thing. You don't really care about the French election, but you're going to tweet about that, and then vice versa. And so it's those French right-wing trolls that were helping during the American election to get things trending on Twitter in favor of Donald Trump. So I think, it really depends on what you're choosing to do in today's society, and that's the whole thing about robots and artificial intelligence. It's shit that the Jordan Petersons of the world don't think about. It's the things that the libertarians don't think about. In a lot of ways, I think there's something to be said about the libertarian idea of limited government and all this shit. And it's but the problem is if when robots start taking over, as they are, I don't know, we're shifting into a territory where you're just going to have mass murders of your citizens. And so that's when the libertarians actually get into this whole thing about well, that's why they're putting fluoride in the water. They are working on killing us, and it's that's why when you said the question, it was all these thoughts were
it's good.
Trying to process
what you're doing is showing to me that you're a pattern recognizer. You recognize patterns, you talk about them, analyze them, and then you get a bigger picture view.
That's right.
You don't have so here is loyalty based on reason.
In most cases, probably not. But if you get down to the core of it, it's by staying loyal. So on the surface, no. But in a deeper sense, yes. Because on the surface, say you're one of Donald Trump's goons, and he's okay, we'll shoot that guy in the head. You're okay, go shoot him in the head. Or beat me up, which this guy, I can get into that or whatever, but I won't. So it's irrational on one level, but I think there is a rationality in that it will benefit you in the long term, and that's why people do it.
No, that was good. Let's go. T.S. Eliot said that poetry is outing your inner dialogue. What language is your inner dialogue in?
Chaos.
Very good. George Manupelli, great experimental film pioneer, he says, ignore yourself. Jonas Mekas says, there is no self-expression. Great jazz pianist Cecil Taylor says, I'm just a vehicle, and this stuff just comes through me. The question is, do you think artists are more, of course it's both and it depends, but are they more vehicles for whatever culture or technology is dominant, or is it more self-expression? Is art making more self-expression or more vehicles for whatever culture?
Well, if you're doing it right, I think you are a vehicle. And people say that you sound like a pretentious prick when you get into, oh, you hear voices from God, and oh, you're like Nikola Tesla, and like all of a sudden they're like, they're telling you how to, create wireless electricity. Oh, but lo and behold, like that's what they're doing now. And so, whether it was voices or whatever, he was listening to the needs of, what needed to be taken care of. And
that was great. To bring up Nikola Tesla to answer that question was brilliant. Now, can art making be egoless?
No. Not unless you're a kid.
Not unless you're a
kid.
A kid. Yeah. That's amazing because McLuhan has a line.
They do it. They do it joyfully. I think you. Ego is something that you develop as you self-actualize. When you have no sense of self, then there is no ego.
Well,
and that's your purest form of innocence.
I'll tell you two things, Rod, that you brought up. McLuhan loves the line, the Balinese have no word for art. They do everything as well as they can. It's like a kid. He's like, I'm not going to go do art now. They just do art. Mm-hmm. And so the funny thing is when I say, can art be making the egoless, some people go, great art is. So there's something about art, like, and I see your graphics with Katy Perry on the boardwalk, and some kids are like, I'm a Katy Perry fan, I'll buy it. And then you look at it a little closer. Are you looking at it close enough? And so you hit some universal.
So that out there, it's that I put. When I involve or evoke the Andy Warhol theory of celebrity being like the apex of art, which I try not to do too often. Yeah. It's like I put like these subversive messages like into the collages. In the case of the Katy Perry one, it was like you'll buy anything. You'll
buy anything, and it's Katy Perry, and they're like, wow, I will, and I'm buying this. But the best thing is you put up signs next to his art, and it says free.
Yeah.
And then all the other merchants go, dude, you can't have your art free. You gotta ask for something.
Well, but then that's the strange thing is, and anytime I do that, I always make more money, and then I post it on Instagram, and people want to give me even more money because they see it on Instagram.
Okay, great. Is perception reality? Woo!
That's a tough one. No and yes.
Good, let's move on because we got a lot. Okay, why is it so difficult for humans to consider the possibility that life may be pointless?
Oh, life is definitely pointless.
But why is it so difficult for most humans to consider that? Or a lot of humans.
Well, because of ego. Going back to the other thing, they want to feel like whatever they've done is important.
Yeah.
I mean, even those like your average kind of person that just wants to enjoy the football game and not engage in politics.
Yeah.
They're like, well, I want to make sure that my children have a better chance or whatever.
Yeah.
Like they're focusing their ego like into the family, which again going back to the female versus the male thing there, whatever is like. I think that's probably the more healthy thing to do.
Yeah.
But you still have to have an ego about it.
Very good. Okay. Lewis Carroll says, I believe as many as 6 impossible things before breakfast. Have you believed in any impossible things lately?
Absolutely. I don't think.
Name one.
We're gonna get these movies out there to some of these Hollywood douchebags, and like it's gonna work out.
Good.
Like I have to work my state into my mind into a state of crazy in order to do some of these things. So I did this one collage. I did it was a 24-foot banner that I did up on the Sunset Strip, and you already know this story, but. and it was the second choice where I decided to put this banner. It was a little further down in like Sunset Plaza, where there was a bunch of scaffolding. I was going to get it 6 stories up, and it was going to be fucking awesome. But also, when I got there, I saw that like there was this one little gap that I had to make, and I hate to say it, but it's safety first. If I end up like splattered on the pavement, like no one's going to see my awesome anti-Donald Trump banner.
Right.
But so. But in order to do this stuff, you rationally do the math of like, okay, I climb up here, I'm gonna unroll the banner in the parking lot there, and then that's when we apply the spray paint, because you got to color it afterwards, and I'm gonna fold it back up, then we go across here, and it's like I have the rope, I'm gonna throw the rope up here, we're going up to the next thing, we're going over this, we're going up 6 stories on the outside of the building like Batman.
All illegally, and they could have busted.
Completely illegally, and it's like, but so you try to make as rational a plan as possible.
Yeah.
But you know in your head it's totally fucking crazy. It's totally fucking crazy.
Okay, that's a good follow-up. What does courage mean to you now?
A couple of beers and Quaaludes and whatever.
Dude, you still get Quaaludes? Okay, let's keep going. Tell me, Rod, one element of your art, whether it's music, political activity, or graphics, in the many years you've done it, say you've been doing 2 or 3 decades, right? Yeah. Okay, sorry. You've been doing it a lot.
Yeah, sure.
Tell me one element that's changed and one element that's stayed the same since you started doing your art.
The big element that's changed is obviously the internet. I mean, back in the day when we because it was a little more pure when you went out and did street art, and it was like, okay, like I had like a 5-foot tall stencil of Bob Dobbs, and among other things, but like that was like the pride and joy of like our, the collection, which I had done, and like you kind of think of it as like our collection, like the various people that you do it with, and it was like got like a 5-foot tall Bob, and like we're just gonna go fuck shit up, and Bob's gonna be everywhere, and that was beautiful, and that was kind of childish. And there's no pictures of it. I have no fucking pictures of like any of the shit that I did.
Oh, you can collage one and put it on the internet.
Well, no, I'm not saying that I couldn't do it, but you're asking me what's different.
Right.
What's different now the internet is
the change is the internet. What's the same? What's from the beginning till now? What's one element that stayed the same?
The same is it's a struggle against the man still.
Struggle.
So I don't want to get into Mein Kampf or whatever, but it is it's you're fighting against the man.
Okay. Moshe Feldenkrais works with healing and movement. He says it's literally possible to identify a weakness and incorporate it to become a strength, rather than we're normally taught to overcome a weakness. Tell us a weakness that you've incorporated to become a strength.
Oh, well, that was just like I was saying, like I have a couple fucking beers, and I use Quaaludes, so no one knows the fucking stronger things that I just wanted to say like some fucking 70s drug, which I couldn't possibly get. But
I was wondering.
But it's
So
it's
you're
like,
saying
I worked myself up into like you're fucking kind of fucked up over this, and so I'm totally rational, but I'm also like I know I need to get irrational to get it done. Right. So it's like
flip irrationality into rationality and
do you know how much it fucking hurts to jump? Like I'm like serious, like you watch the part 3 of the Batman movies, and he comes home after like falling down like through the alley. Yeah, that fucking happened on that night when I was doing that, and it's like, and your body is fucking wrecked, and you have to like if you don't jack yourself up on something like that, it's not gonna happen. So
no, that's good. I just want to tell people in 13 minutes we're going to open it up to the audience. We want to tell Rod this has been truly enlightening. Let me ask you.
Even with the politicians, that's it. But okay, go.
Let me.
You want to move it on? Okay.
Let's go. What's the difference between rights and responsibilities?
Oh, shit, I don't want to get into all that libertarian nonsense there.
That's right.
Okay. So, well, you've got the right to free speech, but you got to be responsible about it. If someone wants to be not called him or her and they switch to something else or whatever, well, I got the responsibility to not be an asshole about it.
Okay. What's the difference between rebellion and revolution?
Well, rebellion is a teenage kind of. It's something that it's like every kid that I was, not every kid, but most of the friends most people I was friends with in high school or whatever. It was a phase.
Yeah.
You know, rebellion is like, no, we're not going to take this. It's like a permanent thing, and we're going this way.
And revolution is
I'm saying that's rebellion is. I'm saying, you know, revolution is like we're not going to take it anymore. Like permanently, like the gas pedal is on full.
Yeah.
Like, you know, whether it's the American Revolution, we're not doing the redcoats anymore, so we're gonna go out there, we're gonna kill all these motherfuckers or be killed ourselves.
Yeah.
I don't advocate violence or whatever, but in the case of actual revolution,
right.
Or, you know, maybe I'm an artistic revolution. I don't believe in any fucking government. So it's hard for me to say, oh, we're gonna overthrow these motherfuckers, and like we'll become the motherfuckers ourselves.
Very good. Okay, this is a good lead into this. Utah Phillips says anarchy is making rules for yourself. And
jeez, right into anarchy. Okay.
Anarchy is making rules for yourself, not others. Who's entitled to make the rules?
You're only entitled to make the rules for yourself. I mean, that's what I'm saying. Like, I don't like. There's no moral absolute, and and I mean it's just like I said. It's like I'm gonna do my if I get worked into a frenzy and like do some fucking crazy ass graffiti stuff or, you know, some other subversive thing. Like, I'm gonna do it based on my morality, as long as it's not hurting anyone else.
Yeah.
You know, some of your property gets hurt or whatever.
Yeah.
Like, well, you know, how many planets or continents did you rape, like digging the ore out or whatever to get your Porsche or these fucking douchebags with their those Lamborghinis everywhere. You've seen them.
No, I agree with you. This is really fun. Okay, here's John Basil Barnhill. He's one of the foremost socialist thinkers. This is what he said. Where the people fear the government, you have tyranny. Where the government fears the people, you have liberty. Then V for Vendetta paraphrased it. People should not be afraid of their governments. Governments should be afraid of their people. How do you personally handle false fears? Meaning things that the government bring up, like the war on drugs. Well, you can't fight drugs because drugs can't fight, and you can't say no to drugs because drugs don't talk. So how do you, when they say war on terrorism, how do you personally handle false fears?
I make documentaries. That's why I'm a documentarian filmmaker. I want to hold up a mirror to these people, and it's like, no, this is what you're doing. I've had so many discussions with those alt-right people, and like, oh, the violent left. It's like, okay. I mean, they did start to become, violent after you kicked their heads in for a year and a half with this Donald Trump shit.
Yeah.
So, here it is for the record, and I still keep in contact with a lot of them. And they're like, oh, did you see this new stuff? Like out at the Mark Bray talk, Mark Bray's the guy who wrote the Antifa handbook, or the anti-fascist handbook, I should say, I believe. So this one guy got, beat up, but like he was an alt-right guy, and they all want to send me this shit, and I'm like, yeah, okay, but what about Dylan Roof, like his little Confederate flags, and what about Charlottesville and Heather Heyer getting run down, and like the list goes, or Robert Louis Deere at Planned Parenthood. We go back to Oklahoma City bombing. Like how many fucking things do we have to go through to remind you that the lefties, for the most part, have been peaceful.
Yeah.
Which part of that did you fucking you had a mind scrub?
Minds.
It's like Men in Black. Like, it's like, okay.
Are you for or against capital punishment?
I'm against it.
Yeah. Does punishment work?
I don't think so.
Yeah. So what do you consider could be done if someone does something say us as a community of 10 people here aren't approving with someone's action? Do we try to reform the person? How would you approach something that we think that society has taught us was punishment that will teach them their lesson?
Well, so
what's another means?
Well, I mean, I
to replace punishment, or do you think reformation helps, or?
Well, right. So unfortunately, like you kind of have the backfire effect going on in the echo chambers. But I mean, this is why I try to keep in contact with people on the right and the alt-right, and I think I think we need to rewire how we're thinking in general and communicate with people on the other side. And so, so they have empathy. So there's a thing actually that happened in Berkeley as well. And so is this thing called the empathy tent, where is these couple of...
You mean during the Milo protest?
Yep.
Empathy tent. Tell us what is it.
So David and I forget his partner's name, two hippie kind of guys, like you're about your age. I mean legitimately of hippie age.
Yeah.
Decided to just put up a tent, and it's where all the crazy protests and violence is going on. And there's one day where I just I think I'd seen it on the first day. On the second day, I was like, I'm gonna go talk to these guys. And I was doing my Facebook live stream and chatting with David and right in the middle of it, Joey Gibson from before I saw that it was Joey Gibson, it was just you could see the swarm of people like ants coming at the tent. And we're like, oh, what the fuck is this? So Joey Gibson walks straight in, and he's like, I want to do it. So what it is they came up with this process, for the left to communicate with the right, where you have a moderator who's basically says, so Joey was representative of the right, and I was like, okay, I guess I'll be the lefty here, because basically because all the other lefties were had their pitchforks out and we're gonna stab him,
right?
And I was already sitting there and live streaming it. And
it's all about dialogue.
So it's all about dialogue.
Yeah.
But it's not only, so I might say whatever thing that I have to say. Well, I feel that you guys were mean yesterday when Yvette Fialka got arrested and all that, and then so David would say, so can you repeat what Rod said? And then so the other guy has to repeat it back, and then says, do you felt heard and understood? And then if they felt and understood, then you move on to the next thing. And so I actually kind of, made a quasi friendship,
right.
with this guy. He hasn't hasn't answered my request on Facebook, but but I thought we made a lot more headway in understanding the two different sides than if everyone was just punching each other
and yelling. No, that was good. I think that was a good example of how people can have some sort of progress in civil discussion. I mean, when we open this up in a couple minutes, it is often I have to say, please keep your question to a few lines.
Well, yeah, you can change people.
But people get on an agenda, and it used to be, we were fortunate in Santa Monica, we had a Midnight Special bookstore for 35 years, and this was one of the greatest political bookstores in the history of the world. And it was just people with agendas screaming sometimes. And then everybody go, what can we do about it? And then they go, write a letter to your congressman. So, we can isolate and talk about a problem. Then we can say, what are some strategies to deal with it? So before we open it up to the audience, which will be in a few minutes, I'm going to ask you a couple more questions. And I want to thank you, Rod. This has really been enlightening. I appreciate your time and energy.
I think you're giving me too much credit.
Yeah. One of the questions I'm going to ask you is, if you were in a vat of vomit up to your neck and someone threw a bag of shit at your face, what would you do?
Choke.
Tell me something good.
Well, I guess it depends on why and if it was for pleasure or humiliation.
Very good. Okay, you set up the parameters. Okay, tell me something good you never had and you never want.
What are those eggs that caviar?
Caviar. Very good answer. If you're walking down the street today and you met yourself as a 12-year-old, what would you say to your 12-year-old self?
Get your shit together.
How do you find peace of mind?
Like I said, just watching terrible I like watching comedy stuff. I like just laughing.
Laughing. That's a good way to find peace of mind.
I mean, that's like the finale of the documentary. It's like as much as it's all about politics. there's these like at the RNC, like the FBI raids us, and there's like we get knocked down 1,000 times. There's like just crazy shit happening in the street, and then my buddy Turner's got like this paper mache pig, and the police take it from us, and there's like, you know, hundreds of cops everywhere, and you know, looking like the Nazis. And